I was sipping my coffee, the rich aroma filling the kitchen, when Meredith's phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it, her perfectly arched eyebrows furrowing as she read the message. "Who's that?" I asked, setting down my mug. "Roger," she replied curtly, her fingers tapping a reply. My stomach tightened at the mention of her boss's name. Roger Sinclair was notorious for his charm and wandering eye. "What does he want?" I inquired. Meredith looked up, her green eyes guarded. "He's invited me to a company party tonight." I frowned. "You're not seriously considering going, are you?" "Of course I am," she snapped. "It's an important event. But Roger will be there, and you know how he is." I couldn't keep the concern from my voice. Meredith's jaw clenched. "You can't control me, Ethan. I'm going to the party." She pushed back her chair and stormed out, leaving me staring after her, uneasy tendrils of doubt slithering through my mind. The hours ticked by, each minute amplifying my unease. I paced the living room, my phone clutched in my hand, waiting for Meredith's text that never came. Midnight came and went, and still no word. Then, a notification popped up on my screen. It was from Kelly, Meredith's friend and coworker. My heart pounded as I opened the message. "Ethan, you need to see this. But please don't tell Meredith I sent it to you." Attached were several high-definition videos, each one more damning than the last. In the first, Meredith was draped over Roger, their lips locked in a passionate embrace. The next showed them stumbling into a dimly lit room, hands roaming, clothes disheveled. My vision blurred as rage and betrayal washed over me in searing waves. I hurled my phone across the room, shattering it against the wall. I spent the night sleepless, my mind a whirlpool of anger and hurt. How could Meredith do this to me? To us? After everything we'd been through together. As the first rays of dawn crept through the curtains, a cold determination settled over me. I wouldn't confront her, not yet. I needed to plan, to gather information, to ensure my revenge would be complete and utterly devastating. I booted up my laptop and began digging into Roger's life. His finances, his business dealings, every sordid detail I could uncover. If he was going to steal my wife, I would take everything from him. And Meredith, I would make her regret the day she ever betrayed me. The next morning, I feigned normalcy as Meredith bustled around the kitchen, making coffee and toast. When she announced she was heading for a shower, I seized my chance. "Leave your phone," I said casually. "I need to update some apps for you." She hesitated, then shrugged and tossed it onto the counter. "Sure, I guess. Just don't mess anything up." As soon as she disappeared down the hallway, I snatched up her phone and got to work. My fingers flew over the screen, bypassing her security with ease. Within minutes, I had accessed her messages, photos, and call logs. What I found made my blood boil. Dozens of flirtatious texts and explicit photos exchanged between her and Roger, arranging secret rendezvous, professions of lust and desire. "You lying, cheating snake," I muttered, downloading every incriminating piece of evidence. But that was just the beginning. As I dug deeper into Roger's affairs, I uncovered something far more insidious. A trail of financial misdeeds and embezzlement, hidden offshore accounts filled with ill-gotten gains. A grim smile spread across my face. This was the ammunition I needed to bring them both to their knees. I worked tirelessly, compiling a dossier of Roger's criminal activities. When I was certain I had enough evidence, I made a few anonymous calls. One to the IRS, another to an old friend who was an investigative journalist. Within days, the dominoes began to fall. The IRS launched an investigation into Roger's offshore accounts and suspicious transactions. At the same time, my journalist friend published a blistering exposé, laying bare Roger's corrupt dealings for the world to see. Roger's once charmed life crumbled around him. His assets were frozen, his reputation in tatters. He was a man brought low by his own greed and hubris. "That's just the start," I vowed, relishing his downfall. With Roger's finances and career in ruins, it was time to turn my attention to his personal life and Meredith's. Late one night, I compiled all the incriminating videos and messages I had gathered, documenting their sordid affair in excruciating detail. Then, with a few keystrokes, I sent the damning evidence to Roger's wife, Lisa, and the HR department at their company. I also made sure to include the spouses of all the company's board members. After all, they deserved to know the truth about the people they had entrusted with their businesses. The scandal exploded like a bomb, ripping through the company and their social circles. Roger was fired and disgraced, his reputation forever tarnished. And Meredith. She was promptly terminated for gross misconduct, her once promising career reduced to ashes. As for Lisa, the humiliated wife, she wasted no time filing for divorce, ensuring Roger would lose half his remaining assets and likely custody of their children. I was lounging on the couch, savoring a glass of whiskey, when the front door burst open. Meredith stumbled in, her makeup smeared, eyes puffy from crying. "Ethan, thank God you're here." She dropped to her knees before me, grasping my hands. "I'm so sorry, baby. Please, you have to forgive me." I stared at her coldly, unmoved by her histrionics. "Get up." "What?" I said, "Get up." I extricated my hands from her grip. "We're done, Meredith." Her eyes widened in horror as I produced the manila envelope, thick with printouts and damning evidence. How did you?" "I know everything," I said flatly. "About you and Roger. The texts, the videos, all of it." I tossed the envelope onto the coffee table with a thud. Meredith recoiled, hands flying to her mouth. "Ethan, I was stupid and weak, but I swear it didn't mean anything. I love you." I laughed bitterly. "You really are delusional, aren't you?" I leaned forward, my voice low and dangerous. "Let me make one thing crystal clear, we're through. I've already filed for divorce." "No, please." She dissolved into fresh sobs. "I'll do anything. Just give me another chance." "Another chance?" I shook my head in disgust. "After what you did, you're even more pathetic than I thought." With that, I stood and headed for the door, tossing the divorce papers at her feet. "It's over, Meredith. I hope it was worth it." A few weeks later, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. I answered cautiously. "Hello, you bastard." Roger's voice, thick with rage and desperation. "You're going to pay for what you did to me." I chuckled darkly. "Somehow, I doubted you'd take your punishment lying down. I'm going to make sure you rot in prison for hacking my accounts and destroying my life." "Your life was already in the gutter, Roger. I just gave it a little push over the edge." He sputtered incoherently for a moment. "I'll prove you did it. The authorities will find the evidence and—" "Evidence?" I cut him off smoothly. "You mean the immaculately covered tracks and complete lack of digital fingerprints tying me to your downfall? Good luck with that." There was a long pause, then a resigned sigh. "You've ruined me, Ethan. I've lost everything." "That was the idea," I replied coldly. "But I'm just getting started." A few days later, Meredith showed up on my doorstep, a pitiful shadow of her former self. "Please, Ethan," she begged, eyes rimmed with dark circles. "Give me one more chance. I'm utterly alone now." I simply shook my head and closed the door in her face, shutting out her muffled sobs. She had made her bed, and now she could lie in it just like Roger. With the divorce finalized and the ashes of my old life swept away, I turned my attention to new horizons. I packed up my belongings and relocated to a new city, taking a job at a promising tech startup. Bit by bit, I rebuilt my world from the ground up, joining recreational sports leagues, taking cooking classes, immersing myself in new hobbies and passions. With each passing week, the wounds inflicted by Meredith's betrayal began to scab over and heal. News periodically trickled in about my former tormentors. Roger's business empire had crumbled, his reputation permanently shattered. He and Meredith became societal pariahs, unable to regain their footing no matter how hard they scrambled. I felt no pity, only cold satisfaction at their devastation. They had sought to destroy my life through lies and infidelity. In the end, I had turned their treachery into the architect of their own undoing. Revenge, I mused over a glass of bourbon one night, was indeed a dish best served ruthlessly.